after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Nick DiMartino. That's Nick Morgasen. This is a brand new episode of Moving the Goalposts. You can follow me on Twitter at Nick DMart. You can follow the Empty the Bench Network at ETB Network. You can follow Nick at N Morgasen Radio on Twitter. You can follow this show at MTGP ETB on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. And you can follow the Empty the Bench Network on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at ETB Network. You can follow all the Empty the Bench shows on youtube.com/ETB Network. You could listen to all the Empty the Bench podcasts at etbpodcast.com. And you can listen to Moving the Goalposts wherever you get your podcasts, just like all the Empty the Bench Network podcasts. And of course, this show, Moving the Goalposts, is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience. From playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB Network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. All right, so the big news of the day is these NBA and WNBA media packages, and of course, it's caused a lot of odd controversy because TNT, the way it works, from what I understand, is that TNT has a right to match the offer.
That's correct.
And the NBA is claiming that they didn't match the offer because they don't provide the same value in terms of streaming. Now, I think part of the reason, I think there's a few reasons to me why this is such a big story to the public, because stories like this are usually not huge deals. I mean, like because things like this happen all the time, like who has rights to the college football games or something like that. Things like this happen all the time. I think there's two primary reasons why. One is because it represents to me a very, it represents, not just to me, but to everybody, this sort of like shift from cable TV to streaming when it comes to watching sports. And another reason is because, which we all kind of saw coming, it's not like new or unfathomable, but the other reason is the fact that, you know, what's going to happen with Inside the NBA, the TNT show, on TNT, and which I think goes to show you how good that show is, because it's the only one. Think about it for a second. Think about this. Is there any other like pregame and postgame show that people have this type of affinity for? I mean, if any other sports pregame or postgame show went away, people would not even care. This is the only one that people actually care about.
I mean, the only one I could really think of that anyone would really know in any stature would be College Game Day. That's really the only one for pre and post, and more pre, because they're really setting the stage for college football in that day. But what I would say, excuse me, about Inside the NBA, it's the names and the brand that are attached to the Inside the NBA show. When you have Charles Barkley, Kenny Smith, Shaq, Ernie Johnson, even too, who's been around for a long time. And that's kind of the unfortunate situation that's going to happen with Turner or Warner Bros. Discovery losing the NBA rights, is Ernie has already come out and said that he's not leaving Turner, regardless of, well, because he's got family health situations and all this stuff. They all live in Atlanta, essentially, by the way.
Yeah,
So,
it's interesting to me because I mean we're both from the New York area. We don't really view Atlanta as a real city.
I mean,
I
yes
mean,
and no.
I'm
Yes
half
and no.
joking, but it's like I'm surprised.
I actually went to Atlanta and I saw the Brave Stadium. Atlanta. I actually stayed in CNN Center, that hotel where they have all the media stuff, and I actually got to tour the. It's actually a big area, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, I believe that.
But you're right. I do agree, half jokingly, that people forget that Atlanta is a major city from
I mean,
time
it's
to
a
time.
major city in the South, like by Southern standards, kind of.
But it's significant. But just now hearing the rumors that Amazon might want inside the NBA. By the way, I don't know if, and this is very nerdy what I'm about to say, I don't know if they'll be able to call it inside the NBA if they get it to Amazon.
They probably won't.
Because
But it doesn't really matter, does it?
I mean, it's a staple name. Now, my question would be, does it belong as value? Is it a value proposition piece? Maybe Warner Bros. Discovery will say to Amazon, "Hey, you want the name? We'll sell you the rights to the name, make money that way, or license it."
Yeah, I mean that would make a lot of sense. Like I said, most of these, it's interesting because most of these contracts are not really public until things like this happen. Or
It's
they're
true.
public, but people don't really or maybe they are public, but people don't actually pay attention
Well,
to them.
here's another wrinkle which most people are not paying attention to, and I think WBD really screwed this up bad. They signed all those guys to deals past the rights ending date of this contract. So, like, Charles is on a 10-year contract. It was way past when the rights were up. Usually, and you know this from being in the business, usually what happens, you sign your guys that are part of the pre and post show for the same amount of time as the rights deal that's made with the league.
Correct.
Just so you're not stuck with these guys if you don't have it. And by the way, Charles's deal, this was very public, by the way, Charles Barkley. If now, and it's going to happen since WBD lost the rights, he has a automatic opt-out clause that he can use in his deal to get out of it, since the NBA will no longer be there.
That's basically, so he has an opt-out just in case they lose the rights. Basically.
Right. So now that they lost the rights, my assumption is that Charles will use the opt-out. Now, Charles had come out originally and said, "I'm retiring," and all this nonsense. He was doing that because he was not happy with Warner Brothers Discovery. Let's just be real.
I mean, first of all, he's on he already is semi-retired, I would say.
He's got like the greatest deal of all time, showing up for 2 to 3 days a week, doing the NBA on TNT and clowning around and going viral, even though he's not trying to. I mean,
how many hours a week does Charles Barkley actually work?
I mean, let's not just say he shows up 5 minutes beforehand, because that's not the case.
I'm not saying he does.
But like, it probably takes a good 6 to 7 hours, 2 to 3 times a week at least. I know it's not like you and I are doing, but
he's
like
working essentially part-time.
He's working part-time. He's being paid a lot of money.
And being paid a lot of money. So, I mean, he was a professional basketball player. So, I mean, he basically already is semi-retired. I also don't believe that he necessarily wants to.
Well, he doesn't want to retire?
I don't believe he necessarily wants to retire. I think he wants...
People forget that he's an entrepreneur type too. Like, he invests in a bunch of stuff, like a Shark Tank type person also. Yeah. He actually was a shark, one episode of Shark Tank, actually.
Oh, really?
So, because apparently he does a lot of investing on the side. I had no idea, by the way. For someone that looks like or acts like an idiot on the NBA on TNT set, he's a really smart guy, believe it or not.
Well, he probably has smart business people around him.
No, but a lot of people have said, like, he's a smart businessman, period.
He probably is. I mean, like, when you have people, like, a lot of professional athletes are like that. Like, they have a lot of money, and but
people are
not
saying
necessarily the most business savvy.
Right, but people are saying his persona on the NBA on TNT is not actually who he 100% is. Like, people think he's an idiot and a dumbass, but he's really not.
Well, I don't think that. Here's the thing: I don't think that there's exactly a fine line between being smart and being stupid. I think everybody's a little. I think most of us are a little bit of both. I think
I
I'm
like that.
smart and stupid in different ways.
I
But
mean,
think about it. We all are.
I mean, you and I, we don't understand anything about hockey. We've admitted that many
Right,
times.
exactly. It's like I understand football, but I don't understand hockey. Like, so I guess
You
I'm smart when it comes to football and I'm stupid when it comes to hockey.
like you and I can sit and talk NFL, NBA, and MLB forever, but like hockey is one that's eluded both of us for.
Yeah, and just because, and by the way, Charles Barkley comes across as kind of dumb, but I don't know. I think he comes across more as silly than he does as dumb, if
I
anything.
I think that's the character that he plays
But I
on.
think he is like that. Like, I don't think that's made up. Like, he just comes across as silly. But I don't
Agreed.
think he's stupid when it comes to business. And like I said, like he has people around him. He might not be like a brilliant business person either, but I'm sure he has like a bunch of people around him that know business.
Probably, but let's talk about the deals because these are insane.
Yeah, because these deals, I mean, first of all, I mean, it's always I think it seems like a very common theme on social media to talk about how the NBA is a dying sport, or people say the same thing about baseball. Baseball, like, first of all, that's not true. People have been talking about the sports bubble for a long time. Everybody wants to talk about how this particular league is dying or whatever. It's bullshit. It's not true. All of these leagues are just getting bigger. Now, some are getting bigger at higher rates than others, but every single like major sport, including hockey, is getting more popular.
I would partially debate that with baseball because they're having issues going on with a lot of things, but
baseball has gotten, like, the MLB has gotten more popular.
I wouldn't say that was because of the digital. I think they grew more because of the gambling stuff that was attached to them.
Yeah, but like that's not really the point. The point I'm making is all of these sports are getting bigger. Like,
Agreed.
people often say baseball's a dying sport. I mean, it might be a dying sport for like kids playing, like American kids
demo.
playing it, but it's
Yeah.
not a dying sport when it comes to viewership. Like, they're still nationally televised they're like the playoff games are still nationally televised.
They're on digital platforms. If digital platforms wanted them so bad, then why would it be declining or dying? I mean,
Right, and also it's huge. Baseball is just huge locally. Like,
well, that's
depending
starting to
on,
change too, though. Like the whole idea of the localized bubble is starting to die. That I would say for sure, because there's no way to keep local rights anymore because of all the national money
well, I
that's
was
coming
talking
in.
more about like buzz about certain, like the Yankees will never not be the most popular team in New York. Like, the Yankees are huge in this area. Like, they are the most, like, New York baseball is huge locally. I don't
Well,
mean like
yes,
just in terms of viewership and in terms of it's not necessarily like this, and I don't know every locality, but I know in all the big ones. I know baseball is really big in New York. It's big in Boston. I don't know about Philly and LA as much. But
I
if
would
you
say
listen to
football.
WFAN, if you
Yeah,
listen to WFAN, the conversations are all about the Yankees, and it's like they're conversations about the Yankees that almost sound kind of boring. Like, it's things like every little thing about the Yankees.
the
Like,
nuances. Yeah,
yeah, and it's because the Yankees are really popular. But but what I'm saying though is about this, rights, like, people off, like, it is a common thing to bash the NBA. Like,
that's
it is
true.
just sort of a common thing, and it's been like this for a long time. And there may be some obvious criticisms, like just with any other business, but this new rights deal is like triple what it was before. So they're not.
Yes,
It can't be
more
that
than
bad.
triple. More than triple. I mean, it's. I was doing the math. I think it was like 2.5 bill. Now it's almost 8 million. 8 bill. So
No,
it
almost 7. I think.
or almost 7. Excuse me. It was 7 billion.
So it's close to triple.
So when I look at these numbers, 11 years concurrently with all the deals, ESPN, NBC, and Amazon Prime, 11 years, $76 billion for the NBA, which is an incredible number when you look at it. And the one conception or misconception I will say a lot of people will say is, oh, well, the NBA can't make any more money. It's not possible. Well, guess what? They did.
Yeah, that's not true.
I mean, look at all the streaming deals, Amazon, and to be honest, they probably could have made more money if they really held out for more, if they really wanted to. But 76 billion is a lot of money. I mean, people don't realize they now have the NBA Cup, which I think is stupid, by the way.
Oh, the in-season tournament?
The in-season tournament, terrible.
I don't know. How long do you think that's going to continue? Because I highly doubt that that's going to go on for a long time.
It's going to, because it's another NBA package media rights deal. That's why they're doing it.
Interesting. So I see that as being one of those things where we're like, remember that NBA in-season tournament? Remember how stupid that was?
It's a force. We're both on the same wavelength here. It's a forced thing to get another TV deal, essentially, because for the rumored time, like they were looking at Netflix possibly having the NBA Cup.
Yeah, I mean, I don't view the NBA Cup as any different from any other regular season game. Like, other than players getting a bonus, what does it do?
Who needs the bonus, though?
Well,
most of these guys make millions.
That's not entirely true. There are some low-level players that
but there's a big percentage. The teams that are playing at the top, though, like if their teams are making LeBron.
You're right. You're right about when you talk about like the stars. That's obviously true. But if you look at a guy at the end of the bench, he's still making good money, but he's not making millions.
Well, what's the minimum now? It's like 500,000.
Yeah, 500,000, which is a lot, which is good money, but they're by no means wealthy the same way superstars are.
No, I agree. But hey, making 500,000. If you and I could make $500,000 a year tomorrow, I get
that, but the point is, though, somebody who's making $500,000 a year still cares about an extra boost of money.
Oh no, I'm not disagreeing with that.
Than superstars do. So it is nice, I think, to see players who are lower level get that extra money. I don't.
Look what just happened fairly recently with the home run derby with Teoscar Hernandez winning the $1 million or whatever. He's not making as much as some of those other guys that were in the derby.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know what his contract is exactly, but
it's nowhere near what some of those guys were making.
There's a difference between like a home run derby or like a skills competition and say like the regular like that in season tournament. If they're going to do something with it, they should at least have it be worth something. They're
never going to do that because they would have to raise more money for it. I mean,
well, it's not just that. Like, what is an in-season tournament going to get you a better seeding or something like that? How is that going to work?
I don't think there's any direct attachment to it, if I'm not mistaken. But like, all right, so they were looking for something, and also they have to stop the season temporarily to play the NBA Cup now.
And by the way, first of all, NBA Cup. Don't call anything with the word cup in it. It just sounds terrible. It sounds like soccer.
Well, okay. You know why they're calling it that? Because of the World Cup, because it's supposed to be a World Cup format. That's why they're calling it that way.
Oh, I see.
But can we not
copy? It's not the World Cup. Like, don't try to
it's not the World Cup. It's just call it the in-season tournament, NBA in-season tournament, whatever. No one's watching it anyway.
But you know what? I don't know if they're going to make changes to this, but I don't know if you remember, their courts were ugly,
atrocious. They were
the ugliest courts I've ever seen. I wouldn't watch it just because of how ugly the courts.
I mean, some of those purple and yellow courts, by the way,
they looked awful. I don't know who came up with that.
And here's the other confusing thing, and then we'll move on to the actual technical parts of the deals. But it's bizarre. The way regular season games count towards the World Cup. I almost called it World Cup. NBA Cup. Like, I don't know what games count for what. That's the confusing part.
Yeah, so all they are regular season games, right?
Right, but I'm saying what counts towards the records for this in-season tournament. I don't know what does. That's the confusing part here. But
right. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. There's not much rationale for it other than it's a marketing technique.
Right. But to get back to the media packages, so obviously we said 11 years, $76 billion. Here's what I had said originally. WBD had 5 days to match a part of those deals and said it was exercising its right to do so, but its offer was not considered a true match by the WNBA. That's the direct quote from the NBA. So that means the 24-25 season will be the last season for TNT after a nearly 4-decade run. Though not long after the signing was announced, WBD said it would take appropriate action and said it believes the NBA has to accept its offer.
Okay, so this sounds like the most lawyery thing I've ever heard.
It's legalese.
Yeah, it's all legalese. That's what it sounds like to me, because what we were saying before the show is either they matched the offer or they didn't.
Right.
Like,
but the NBA is making a weird claim, because when I think of match, I said, so Amazon reportedly is paying $1.88 billion for their package. And Warner Bros. Discovery said, okay, we're going to match that package. So that it should be, that's it. It's done. That should have been it.
It's well, they either matched it or they didn't. Like either they matched it or they didn't, according to the contract. I mean, if you look at contracts, there's a lot of words in there, and I'm sure I'm sure it's specified.
But money is the main matching right, I'm assuming. So if they put the money up, then that should be it. And
I mean, I think so. That's based from what I'm hearing. That's what it sounds like. But
Adam Silver,
if they say that like they would make more money from Amazon, even though the offer, like the actual money, so they're claiming they would make more advertisement money from streaming.
Well,
is that what
okay,
he's saying?
So here's a quote from Adam Silver. Quote, the digital opportunities with Amazon align perfectly with the global interest in the NBA, and Prime Video's massive subscriber base will dramatically expand our ability to reach our fans new and innovative ways. Now, here's the problem with that statement. He's not talking about money. He's talking about the digital backend. So he's claiming that the offer was not matched because he's claiming that Amazon brings more to the table with subscribers. But that's wrong. That's a legal issue waiting to happen.
Hold on. It depends on what the contract says. So it depends. Like, there is a question though there, which is like, does the NBA get more money based on subscribers?
I doubt it.
Like, because how do you determine if somebody subscribes for the NBA? And
I'm assuming if Amazon, well, first of all, you have to subscribe and buy Amazon if you're going to watch anything, first of all. But is the NBA going to get a piece of each subscriber? Is that what they're claiming? I mean,
right, that doesn't even make it. I don't know. That doesn't make any sense. But it really just depends on what the details are in this contract, because there has to be some type of objective answer.
Well, like, Turner Sports also came out and said they strongly disagree with the NBA's move, saying it believes the league, quote, grossly misinterpreted our contractual rights.
I mean, like, look, you can look at the contract and probably figure out.
Right. I mean, they keep going on to say we have matched the Amazon offer as we have a contractual right to do so and do not believe the NBA can reject it. In doing so, they are rejecting the many fans who continue to show their unwavering support for our best-in-class coverage. And I'll move forward. Basically, the end of the statement says we'll take appropriate action, which that means courts.
That means suing.
Yeah, that means they're going to file a lawsuit.
Well, yeah. I mean, the thing is like I said, I don't know the full details of Amazon's of what the contract says.
Well, I have what Amazon's plan is under their new deal for games. So it says, under the new deal, Amazon Prime Video will carry games on Friday nights, select Saturday afternoons, and Thursday night doubleheaders that will begin after Thursday night football is over.
I like how they're avoiding football.
What?
I like how they're avoiding football.
No, it'll be after the season is over, so they don't.
That's what I'm saying. I like how they're avoiding they're avoiding football.
And it also says Prime Video will take over the NBA League Pass package from Warner Brothers Discovery. So there's a lot of issues here. There's a lot of legalese here, and there's two options. Like I was saying to you before we started here, one, the courts are going to force the NBA to take back WBD if they had a matching option and the NBA basically refused it, or they're literally going to have to pay Warner Brothers Discovery to go away. Now,
it sounds like the latter is more likely. I'm not 100%
here's the issue,
certain,
though.
But it sounds like that's more likely.
But here's another issue, though. If they say, okay, we're not giving you the rights, you have to pay them to go away. What's the value? Determine that would how much money? Because the deal is up after next season.
Right.
So
it might make more sense to just stay with Turner.
But I'm saying is, what would be the value to make them go away? Is it $5 billion? Is it $7 billion? Is it $10 billion?
Know. That's a whole nother discussion.
So my gut is that somehow they're going to be forced to take back Warner Brothers Discovery in some way. That's just what I think.
I think that's probably true, or at least they might have to pay them for it. Like I said, I mean, if it's true that, I mean, the NBA claiming that it's not a true offer because what
It doesn't have
exactly
the
did they say
streaming
about the streaming?
capabilities because it doesn't have the streaming capabilities of Amazon and all that stuff.
So because the NBA can, but like, what is the stream? So the NBA is claiming that it would be more valuable to their business if they can stream.
Well, because the streaming platform for Warner Bros. Discovery is Max. Like no one really knows Max, the streaming platform, very well.
It's HBO Max. That's what it used to be called, HBO Max.
Right, but I'm saying most people don't know it as well. Like everyone knows Amazon. They can go find Amazon a million ways. But I don't think that's the decision or the NBA shouldn't have an opinion on that. That's not their job. Their job is to follow the contractual obligations.
Right, because it sounds like they're just insinuating, like they believe that it would be better for their business, but it's not an objective offer. It's not like objectively more valuable, like offering more money is.
In my opinion, I think they're right. Believe it or not, that Amazon
they probably
would be
are right, but the point is that's not really the point. The point is the contract.
Right.
What does the contract say?
But I agree that Amazon streaming is way more valuable, probably than Max is. But if they have matching rights, they're violating their contract.
Right. Like if that's what the contract says, does the contract say they have a right to match the offer, or does because that sounds a bit arbitrary, because by that logic, who would ever have the right to match an offer if your whole thing is, well, it'll be more valuable if we have it, like if we do X or something, if we have this particular thing. Like
the one thing I will blame Warner Brothers Discovery is that they let the exclusive negotiating window go by and they never made a deal. That was their fault. If they had just said at that point, we want the NBA, this never would have happened.
Right. This whole mess never would have happened.
So I don't know. It is what it is, but I don't know. You want to talk a little bit of the WNBA package too?
Yeah. So the WNBA, I think that, I mean, so we talked about how the NBA package has tripled. The WNBA has like, what exactly was it again? You told me it's like 5 times as much. It went from 50 million to 250 million.
By technicality, right now it's 50 to 200 million, so it's 4 times. But there is a story because they only signed 3. They originally had 5 partners in their last deal. So right now they have the same amount as the NBA, which is ESPN, NBC, and Amazon. So, because they had Ion and CBS in their last deal, those 2 went away. So, if they sign another 2 deals, they have the potential of $260 million. So, by the end of it, you're right. It could be 5 times as much as they made in the last deal.
Okay. So, it could. So, but right now it's 4 times.
Correct. So, it's 11 years, $2.2 billion, $200 million a year. And yeah, so they're partnering with Disney, Amazon, and NBC. And I will say this right now, and I have no problem saying it. Every WNBA player should be writing a thank you note to Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Oh, yeah, because it became like this. They made the WNBA what it is right now.
Right.
Otherwise, like if not for them, if not for Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese, mostly Caitlin Clark, I think. I mean, it was. The WNBA would, I mean, just think about this. 2 years ago, the WNBA was a joke.
No one really knew it existed. Like, if you saw a WNBA game, all right,
it was a punchline, basically. It was a punchline.
Now it's on SportsCenter getting highlights all of a sudden.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't see the WNBA ever being as big as the NBA, but I just don't think that could ever happen, but it still has gotten vastly more popular than it was. And that's obviously good for the game. I mean, before Caitlin Clark, they were flying commercial. they were flying coach.
I think that was a whole issue that the WNBA had to fix because they were not willing to spend the money. And actually, ironically, do you remember the Brooklyn Nets owner was flying their players private? And they got trouble, and he got fined for it.
The Brooklyn Nets sounds familiar. I don't know.
Yeah, so he was flying his players private. The WNBA fined them for breaking their charter rules. as part of the CBA.
So they couldn't fly private?
Yeah, because it was against the rules for the WNBA at the time.
For the WNBA?
For the WNBA. Because the Brooklyn Nets owner owned one of the, I think owns the Liberty.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
So, and it was the most ridiculous thing ever. I called out Kathy Engelbert, who's the commissioner of the WNBA, on the show for not doing right on the behalf of the players. Right. Now I see videos of them all of a sudden. Now they're flying private and they're doing all this stuff. Well, duh. When you're making more money, you better spend it on them.
Yeah. Well, for a while, women's college basketball was a bit more popular.
I think it still is.
Than the WNBA. I mean, it still is, I guess. I guess, but only for certain, during March Madness, it was a little bit, I would say, a bit more popular. I mean, the WNBA, right? I mean, like I said, the WNBA right now seems popular based on all of it's almost like a cultural thing in a sense. It's the storyline that people care about a lot, and that's very much a thing in all sports. I mean, the most important, the most marketable thing, one of the most marketable things about any sport, obviously, are the storylines. That's always really what the most important thing is. I mean, every week in the NFL, there's a new storyline behind, and every NBA playoffs, it's a new story. It almost seems like the WWE if it was real. It's who won the championship last year? Who's going to defend their throne? It's a similar type of thing when you look at rivalries like this with Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese.
Yeah, I was going to say, between the Fever, the Indiana Fever, and the Chicago Sky, the Indiana Fever came in as the worst team in the WNBA before Caitlin Clark was drafted #1 overall. Now their games are going into expanded into NBA arenas because they can't seat everybody.
Yeah, and by the way, it's that's obviously a very, very good thing.
Of course, it's a good thing.
I never understood some of the Caitlin Clark hate.
It's bad. And by the way, so the Las Vegas Aces, who are the two-time defending champions in WNBA, I forgot which arena they play in, but they had to move their games to the Thomas and Mack Center, where they do a lot of the NBA All-Star Weekend stuff and everything, because they sat 20,000 people.
Were they
at their
playing
game.
the Fever?
Yeah, with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, so I mean, I've never seen. I don't think in my lifetime we've ever seen a particular individual in any sport have this type of impact on the popularity of their sport. I mean, look, there's been a lot of athletes that have moved the needle a lot, obviously. There always have been, but nothing like this. I can't think of any NFL player or NBA player that's actually moved the needle to this degree, to the point where they have to change the size of the stadium. Now, part of it is that the WNBA just wasn't very popular to begin with, so it's kind of an easier thing to do.
Right.
I mean, the WNBA right now is probably 50 years at least behind the NBA, because the NBA was not always what it is now. Was not always what it is now, and the NBA was not always popular like it is now.
I mean, the last Caitlin Clark type needle push, and people are going to get mad at me for saying it, but it kind of reminds me a little bit of when LeBron came out of high school. A little bit.
Yeah, and even that doesn't compare to this, because the NBA was already popular.
Right, but LeBron was the chosen one coming out of high school.
Right, but the point is that the point is though is that they didn't have to change arenas when LeBron.
No, but they definitely had to make major changes when LeBron finally hit the scene.
Well, when LeBron hit the scene, it was the
NBA changed in a massive way.
It did. It did change. Well, I would say I don't know how much the NBA per se changed, but it was just the stories that changed. The NBA went from you have to remember when LeBron came along, it was what, 2003? It
was 2002, 2003. Yeah.
So
his games were being televised by ESPN. Even his high school games were being televised. So I guess it was a little different because Caitlin Clark was not getting the same coverage as
but the
LeBron
point is, though, is that in that time frame, it was right after Michael Jordan retired. It was the post-Michael Jordan era, right after Michael Jordan was playing on the Wizards. So it wasn't they didn't have the whole Michael Jordan Bulls team. It was sort of it was sort of a transition era for the NBA.
Right.
Like early 2000s basketball was very much a transition era. It was a time frame when it was a little bit after the Shaq and Kobe era.
Right.
I think they were still on the team together at that point when LeBron first entered. I think I could be wrong about that.
I think it was right after.
Well,
I
it's
think
right at the
Shaq
tail
had
end, but
left.
it was after they were winning.
Yeah.
Like the Shaq and Kobe era was like 3 years, and I would say like the early 2000s era was sort of. It was also like a very. It was also like a mix. There were also a lot of like point guards and shooting guards that would
Right.
score a lot of points, but wouldn't like win championships. Like a lot of high scoring, but it was like the eras of Allen Iverson and Steve Francis and guys like that.
Yeah.
And that was not it just wouldn't compare to say Michael Jordan or LeBron. And then I would say Steph Curry came in and that changed.
Well, Steph Curry made the 3-pointer insane in today's game. Now everybody wants to shoot threes.
But like the thing is like I don't think that you can really quantify how good. I don't think you can really quantify how good Steph Curry was, because it's not just the fact that he was able to not just a 3-point shooting percentage, but the fact that he had better range than anybody we've ever seen.
Well, also he was one of the best off the ball movers in NBA history, like moving around the court to get that open shot to force that defender down every single time. That was not
in
the
really
90s.
Good shot creator.
No, but in the 90s, he would have been knocked over a million times if he was doing that. Like,
probably. I mean, it was a more physical era, and people talk about how people are often obsessed with more physical. I don't think more physical necessarily means better.
No.
But you also have to remember, it's like, I don't know, maybe it would have been different. Maybe he would have had a different strategy in that time frame. Like, we don't know.
Also, they wouldn't have called as many fouls on his shots back in the day that they do now.
Probably not. But I think that the point is, I think that a lot of what makes basketball players great is that it's probably like this with every sport, actually, I would say, that they focus on things that aren't fun. They focus on the things that really are not what make you love the sport, which is like off-ball movement, defense. That's what I think part of what made Steph Curry so great.
Right. And I just want to point out one more thing, and then we can get to some other stuff for just numbers, because you were asking about numbers before. The WNBA All-Star game, which was the WNBA All-Stars versus Team USA that's going to the Olympics, which I thought was kind of weird, by the way, because Caitlin Clark obviously being on the NBA All-Stars, when I really think she should have been on the Olympic team. Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese actually played together on the All-Star. That was kind of fun to watch. So the WNBA All-Star game drew 3.44 million views. That's really good. That's really good.
Yeah, and because of it's also like an exhibition game, basically. It doesn't even count for anything.
No, but I'm just saying, like, that's probably a record for their All-Star game. If I had to take a guess, I don't know, but
I would assume almost all of the viewing for the WNBA this year has been like record breaking.
But I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, just to give you a quick, so Amazon and NBC will show more than 125 regular season games in the new deal for the WNBA, 25 regular season games for Disney, 50 on other platforms, 30 on Prime Video. Disney will distribute on ABC, ESPN, and ESPN2. NBC will distribute to NBC, USA Network, and Peacock, and Amazon will distribute to Prime Video. So they've got a ton of viewing options now for the WNBA. So,
yeah, well, I mean, that was part of the reason people like didn't watch it. It wasn't really shown anywhere other than maybe NBA TV. Was it?
Pretty much, yeah. And some games on ESPN.
So you talked to me about before the show about how there's going to be an NBA Red Zone type show.
Yeah. I don't have full confirmation on that yet, but that's what they're reporting.
So Legion Hoops.
That's the one I was looking at
on Twitter. Says tweeted that an NBA Red Zone type show is coming to ESPN as part of the new media rights deal. I'm
not a fan, to be honest.
I think it would be great.
I feel like NFL that works because everyone wants to see all the plays and stuff. Like the NBA, it's harder to do that, to be honest. Like to follow every single thing. And also you have to be careful because NBA is more localized on the rights end. NFL is not.
Yeah, I guess that could be it. I guess that might be an issue when it comes to the league in the legal sense. But I don't know. I think any type of red zone really could work. Maybe not so much. Maybe in baseball it wouldn't work because baseball
Wouldn't work at all. It just wouldn't.
You know
But
what? I don't know. You know what? If MLB, I don't know exactly what the MLB has, but if you go to the MLB network, they would.
But you have the thing on FS1. What is the baseball thing that's on FS1? Baseball Night in America or something? I think they call it.
But that's not like a red zone type thing.
Or MLB Whip Around or whatever they call it.
Yeah, so they have things similar to that. I think here's the thing though. I think basketball is much more. It's much more nationalized than baseball in terms of the viewer interest.
True.
And honestly, I would like to see that. I would watch an NBA red zone. I don't know when it would start. If anything, it wouldn't work.
They have an issue right now, so they got to get that figured out first before they could do anything with an NBA red zone. So they got to get their rights stuff figured out.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I guess we'll have to see what happens. But I don't know. I would definitely be interested in seeing an NBA because the problem with the regular season is that sometimes the nationally televised game stinks.
I mean,
they do their best to predict how good a game is going to be, but you just don't always know.
The other problem is you have issues exclusive platforms. Do they want their game on a NBA red zone if they're supposed to be if a platform exclusively paid to have their game on a platform? So that's another issue.
But couldn't that also be a thing in the NFL?
Most of the exclusive games in the NFL are not when everything else is. So, like Sunday Night Football is its own thing. Thursday night for Amazon is its own thing. So, the NBA is going to have its issue, like with the ESPN ABC showcase or NBC's exclusive games. It's going to be a challenge.
But even games that aren't like 1 o'clock and 4 o'clock Sunday afternoon,
those they could do if they want to just do the regular games and they're all around the same time. Then yeah, be my guest. But the exclusive games, they're not going to get away with that. I don't think.
I see what you're saying. So so like a Tuesday night game, for instance,
right? Like if they have an exclusive game, they're not going to be able to do that because a platform paid for it. So
right. But don't platform? Isn't it the same thing with Sunday afternoon games because platforms play for that too, right?
But those are local affiliation games across around the country, and also the NFL owns the rights to the games, so it's their product, it's their content. So, yeah.
All right. So I do want to talk a bit about some holdouts in the NFL. Jordan Love holding out. He's played one full season. It's interesting how much the narrative.
8 games.
He played 17 games last year.
Did he? I'm losing track. Okay. Or it feels like 8 games.
I think it was 8 games the year before. He's hardly been in the league. It goes to show you. I mean, like it just goes to show you how valuable quarterbacks are. That hasn't really proven much and is already making demands.
The market is in his favor. Let's just put it that way.
The market has always been in quarterbacks' favor, but it seems to be much bigger now.
I mean, it's also a game of quarterback chicken a little bit because look at some other names that are out there. Dak, who's in his last year, looking for a new deal. They're talking about $60 to $65 million a year for Dak.
Yeah, which 5 years ago would have sounded like a joke.
And to be honest, if I'm the Cowboys, I would say F you and leave. Like, I'm not paying $65 million for quarterback.
Well, the thing is, though, these teams, they don't really have much of a choice. They have to pay a lot of money for quarterbacks. And what's your alternative? I mean, like, your alternative is the luckiest teams, I think, the thing is, the luckiest teams in the NFL are teams that have young quarterbacks that they don't have to initially pay that much money to.
I mean, they got Herbert on a somewhat cheaper deal.
The Chargers.
Who was the other one? Yeah, Chargers.
They drafted. I mean, like drafting a young quarterback who's going to pan out is the best thing a team can do. But it turns out that like you just have to pay. Like for some of these quarterbacks, you just have to pay the money. Like you don't. Most of these teams don't have much of a choice. It seems like. But
Trevor Lawrence contract is the biggest example of that. By the way.
because they understand that. I mean, I think that these NFL teams that they want to hold out to get a better deal for them. They don't just pay them right away.
You know
But
what though?
they know they have to pay them eventually.
They need to change the rules when it comes to holding out, because these guys they don't care if they're getting fined. Like, they'll sit and get fined because they know they're going to get a large contract if they just sit out.
I mean, there's a reason all of them are doing it. Their agents probably tell them to do it.
In my opinion, they should change the rule to, if you hold out, you get suspended games for the upcoming season. That takes money out of their pocket.
It takes money out. I mean, even then, they'd still probably hold out. I don't know. I don't know if the CBA, if the players' union would allow that.
You need to do something, because the fines are not enough for what they get fined to sit out. They're determined fines. They're not like based on contracts.
Yeah, I mean, like, I personally don't care that much about players sitting out of training camp for better contracts. Like,
but it is kind of petty.
It is, but it's really just, I don't know if it's petty as much of it as it's a negotiating deal, a tactic.
You shouldn't be screwing your team to be petty for your own regard.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's screwing the team per se. I mean, if they're like Jordan Love, how much money is Jordan Love demanding?
It's not even that he's demanding. It's just whatever the market. They're talking about $55 million a year. The guy hasn't even played like a full. Well, he played one full season.
Yeah, he's played in only 2 playoff games, and by the way, only like not long ago, only like a year ago at this point, like Jordan Love was viewed as a joke.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, he completely destroyed the Cowboys in the playoffs. Like, he embarrassed the Cowboys, and that's probably part of what's the value towards him, because he beat the Cowboys. But then he got embarrassed by the Niners.
But also that he won a playoff game. I think that's what it is. He won a playoff game.
Right, but that's not enough to make $55 million a year after one full season.
No, but it might be. It might be.
I'm trying to find the numbers, because they were saying, so Love is due to earn $10.5 million and counts for $12.8 million against the cap in 2024. Does he really think he's underpaid? Is that the whole issue here?
It's not that I think he thinks he's underpaid. I think it's that he thinks he can get more. And that's why they hire agents, because they know that they're trying to maximize the amount of money that they can get. And quarterbacks who don't have amputated arms usually they understand, like, it's such a quarterback heavy league and how valuable the quarterback is.
Okay, so I just did the math. So if we're saying $55 million a year, usually quarterback contracts are 5 years, usually in that range. So they're basically asking for a 5 years, $275 million.
And by the way, if the Packers aren't willing to pay it, then I mean, would anybody be willing to pay it? I don't know.
I don't know. It's a good question. But if Dak 60, 65, I'm just doing the math. Let's just say 60. So we're talking about $300 million for Dak. That's insane. What?
Oh, for over a span of what, 5 years?
5 years. Yeah. $60 million a year for 5 years, $300 million.
Well, I mean, I get that's just the way the market's been moving for quarterbacks.
And by the way, these teams are going to have to start asking for injury insurance, because that's a lot of money.
I mean, most of these contracts probably do have injury insurance.
Because if Dak goes down, like in that $60 million a year, you know the Cowboys are going to curse up a storm with the amount of money they're putting in. If that's the case,
But the thing is, though, it's like there's a reason all of the, like, it sounds like so much money, but there's a reason all of these teams are doing it. It's because they don't have much of a choice other than paying these quarterbacks, and it seems like they're being overpaid. I mean, I think the biggest problem for these teams is that when they spend so much money on like one quarterback, they don't end up having the best teams around them because they don't have much more money to spend. That certainly could be an issue. But the truth is that when you look at these teams, it's like you look at Dak Prescott. It's like, what is their alternative? Who is their backup?
No, I get that. I understand. It just
But like you have to understand like how important it is for these teams to actually pay quarterbacks that are halfway decent. Many of them, most of them even, might not even ever win a Super Bowl. But you also have to look at it in the fact that you have to look at it in the sense that like if you're competitive in the NFL with a good quarterback, almost anybody has a shot to like go to the playoffs or make some type of run. Like it's just not an option.
But you know what's going to happen now? Basically, the suffering is going to be taken on by the fans because these contracts that keep getting higher and higher and higher. All right, we're going to raise ticket sales. Oh, we're going to raise concessions. Oh, we're going to raise the price of parking. Oh, we're going to do this, this, and that. Like you're not going to be able to afford to go to a game anymore at this rate.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that might be true on some level. I guess that might be true. I mean, I don't know how much that affects like ticket prices. I guess it could.
Well, ticket prices pay for part of those contracts.
Yeah, they do.
So,
there's a few. I mean, another big one is Tua. I mean, to me, I think that the Jordan Love holdout is. I mean, look, I'm fine with players holding out. It happens all the time. This was just. I think that to me, none of it is really surprising that players are holding out. This is just the most surprising one. I think would say. It's the most drastic example.
I think people are learning from the Joe Burrow situation when he was up for a large contract and he got hurt before he signed his deal. And basically the Bengals said, you were hurt. We can't pay you like that. And then there was a huge fight over the contract. So I think people are learning from the Burrow situation. Okay, before I step anywhere near this field, I need my contract done so I don't lose out on money. And that's what Jordan Love is doing. The Tua thing, I don't blame the Dolphins because Tua has had 4 concussions.
But
it's a problem.
Here's the thing, though. They're going to pay Tua. They're going to. It's not like there's no. I mean, they're trying to hold out a little bit. The Dolphins are absolutely going to pay Tua.
But I don't blame them for being a little nervous about it.
I don't either. I mean, maybe there should be some type of injury insurance. I don't. You have to remember, NFL contracts are not fully guaranteed. Only part of it is guaranteed.
No, you have the guarantees that they put up front in
there
contracts.
Are certain guarantees, but like it's not like baseball where the whole contract is guaranteed.
Right, but now you're seeing like 150 million or 200 million guaranteed in some of these contracts now, which is insane. It's basically like 80% of the contract is guaranteed because that's the only way they'll get the guys to step in the room. But
right. And you know what? To that, I'd say it's like, yeah, Tua is often injured, but you also have to consider the fact that it's like, which obviously is a problem. But think of it this way: if you don't have Tua, it's like he's injured 100% of the time because that's the situation you're in.
Yes, but here's the problem: if he gets one more concussion, his career could be over.
From what you think, his career could be over from one more concussion?
He had 4 of them in one season.
But is there any like level of concussions is there a certain number of concussions that you get that would end your career?
They said that his career probably should have been over with the amount of concussions he had. And by the way, the Dolphins got fined, and if you remembered, because they didn't handle concussion protocol correctly with him.
I mean, that I would say has much more to do with the Dolphins' incompetence.
Yeah, but I would be worried. If he gets more concussion, you don't know how someone is, even after they recovered from 4 concussions. I mean, first of all, he's going to be a lot more tentative after having 4 concussions than someone who hasn't.
Yeah, well, he had a good year last year.
Well, he led the league in throwing yards.
Yeah, I mean, you have to remember, the Dolphins were good last year, and they were good 99% because of their offense. Their defense wasn't very good. It was their offense that was a powerhouse.
Tyreek definitely until he got hurt towards the end of the year. But
Tyreek Hill helped, obviously, but at the same time, a lot of it was Tua, and he deserves a lot of credit for that. And
the thing that's going to have to change though is Tua is going to have to stop being over aggressive running out of the pocket because that's how he's getting hurt.
Yeah, so, I think that has something to do with it. I mean, look, Tua's been injury prone since he was in college.
But here's the big difference. Everyone said, oh, tank for Tua, if you remember that whole nonsense. And now with all the injuries, it's like, what do I do? Like,
I think the narrative about Tua was complete BS, though. Like, I think that, like, there was this whole, like, Tua isn't good narrative, and that just wasn't true. He was just freaking injured. But it was like the narrative about Tua not being good, I think is ridiculous.
Well, that
And-
was the whole Jalen Hurts Tua thing in Alabama, right? Or whatever. Weren't they both there? I think
Jalen Hurts and Tua were on the same team. And what happened was, so in the national championship game against Georgia,
they had a pick, right?
At halftime, they took Jalen Hurts out of the game
and they put Tua in.
Alabama was down at halftime and came back and won when they put Tua in.
That's right. Yep.
And then when the next year, when they played in the SEC championship game against Georgia, Tua got hurt in the middle of the game.
That's
and
right.
then they put Jalen Hurts in, and Alabama won.
I knew they were intertwined some way. I couldn't remember what.
Yeah,
but
they were teammates with Alabama.
Yeah. So
Jalen Hurts had. I mean, I will say Jalen Hurts is one of the more likable NFL players, mainly because of his story of like if you were to say like in college in 2016, 2017, when he was at Alabama, like the idea, like nobody thought Jalen Hurts would be an NFL quarterback.
That's true. I
Let
remember
alone
that.
like playing in a Super Bowl, and
he's up for a contract too.
Yeah, and he's going to get paid a lot of money. I mean, we looked at Jalen Hurts like a lot of other quarterbacks, like college quarterbacks. He's a college quarterback, and we're just going to forget about him after college. And including like a lot of Alabama quarterbacks certainly fit that description.
No, I agree on that totally.
A lot of SEC quarterbacks fit that description. You think, oh, remember this guy?
Yeah.
Who played at Alabama. Like that's kind of what everybody thought Jalen Hurts would be. So yes, like it's just. It makes him much more likable in the eyes of, certainly in my eyes and the eyes of many sports fans.
I agree totally. You want to get to one more?
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers. One more holdout, you mean?
Well, either that or one more story. We have time.
Okay. Well, the Hassan Reddick.
Okay,
that's another one. He's another one not reporting to training camp.
I mean, that one's just stupid, in my opinion. He got traded from the Eagles to the Jets. Good move by the Jets, actually. But apparently there was some disagreement on the contract negotiation front. And now he won't even come in. Because a lot of times what players will do is they'll come into the facilities and then they'll act like maybe they have a small injury so that they can't play on the field. But that's really a holdout. He won't even come into the facility. This is so Jets, in my opinion.
Do the Jets not have any of this figured out when they...
The Jets are a dysfunctional organization. And once we start going into our football shows again, you'll see how dysfunctional you and I, or how mad you and I are going to be as Jet fans this year.
Honest question. The Jets are a relevant team nationally again. And they haven't always been relevant other than, they were always somewhat relevant, but they were relevant for bad reasons. For bad reasons,
yeah.
Now that the Jets are there is, I will say the Jets are about as relevant nationally as the Cowboys. And that's rare that ever happens. Like
that's debatable. I mean, I could see some aspects of it for sure.
I mean, think of it. Think about it for a second. In like professional sports, what teams are there the most storylines about? Like,
are you saying because of Aaron Rodgers though, or no?
Yes, obviously, it's completely because of Aaron Rodgers. But no. The point I'm making though is like every year the Cowboys are like a really big deal.
Oh, that I agree with.
Even if they're not good. Same thing with the Lakers. The Lakers are like a really big story every year.
It also doesn't help that the First Take machine is obsessed with the Cowboys.
But like the thing is, the reason the First Take machine is obsessed with all of these teams is because the public cares. Like the consumer wants it.
Do they actually care, or are they trying to make everybody care?
If the consumer didn't care about, like, here's the thing: the consumer drives the market. They don't.
No, but I'm saying no. But that wasn't my point. I'm saying, do they actually care, or is First Take like because they obsess over LeBron and the Lakers, they obsess over Dak and the Cowboys. They want to make people care. That's where I see it.
But the thing is, I would say people actually do care. I mean, there's a lot of Dallas Cowboy fans. They are one of the more popular teams.
Well, there are also people that just want to talk about them to hate. That's another thing.
Yeah, but I mean, the point is that like there's always a lot of buzz around the Dallas Cowboys
because agreed, totally.
By the way, and they're also a very love-hate team. Most people either love or hate the Cowboys.
Oh, I mean, I can't stand the Cowboys.
People even have like strong opinions about their fan base. Like the Cowboys, the Cowboys are just like the point is they're always a team that has a lot of buzz around them.
Well, wait a minute. I'll give you an example of how much, at least we hate on the Cowboys. Like, there's a sound, and I think you know which sound I'm talking about on our board here. But like Tom, like co-host on ETB, I mean, this is where the hate of the Cowboys came from.
How about them Cowboys?
I mean, like that was all because we all hate Jerry. I mean, like, but
well, the point I'm making to get back to the Jets for a second is the Cowboys are always a very relevant team nationally. LeBron will always be very relevant nationally.
Well, because of name recognition.
Right,
but
because of name recognition and all that. My question for you is, with the Jets this year, are you more excited for the season or stressed about the season?
That's a good question. I mean, I'm stressed in the point of, is Aaron Rodgers going to get past 4 plays of the NFL regular season that without getting hurt?
I am honestly more stressed than I am.
Me too.
I'm excited, but I'm more stressed.
Again, I don't feel like we made a ton of moves in the offseason to improve the team. That's where I'm kind of worried. Aaron Rodgers is back, but he could get hurt in like that, and then we don't have a quarterback again.
Well, I would say we at least have a backup quarterback this time.
No, I get it, but it's not like all the eggs are in the Aaron Rodgers basket.
Yeah, which is why I'm nervous. Like, and to me, it's going to feel like if the Jets have a failure of a season, it's going to feel so much worse, given that the expectations were so high, and that's all anybody's ever going to be talking about.
Well, can we talk about that since we're actually going over it now?
Yeah. Okay, so one more story. Aaron Rodgers breaks the silence on the Egypt trip. This story perfectly encapsulates how bad of an organization the Jets are.
Yeah, let me play this because this is insane. So Aaron is going viral because of a certain vacation. So take a listen to this first.
I originally scheduled it based on the previous year's schedule, which had us out, I believe, by the 9th or 10th. So once I saw the schedule, I was trying to move some things around. I just didn't happen.
So,
all right. So, well, that's a very short clip. I will say the thing is that the important detail is that the Jets knew about this. He was fined, but the Jets knew about this beforehand. It's not like people made it sound like he just skipped it and didn't show up.
He came out, I saw quotes where he basically came out and said, I don't care about the fines. Like,
right. So he knew about it beforehand. It was just an agreement that they had, and it was technically unexcused, but it really was excused because.
But what about the excuse that he didn't know the schedule and thought it was based off of last year? What is that?
Well, you have to remember these trips are planned in advance, way before the season, way before, like way before the schedule even comes out.
Yeah,
and
but that's a terrible excuse, though.
But it's not, though. Like, minicamp is basically glorified OTAs, and the thing is that. The point is, though, even though it's technically not an OTA, the point is the team knew about it. And what Saleh should have done was just said it was an excused absence. And that's it.
So put it on Robert Saleh again for the 10 millionth time for not saying something correctly.
Well, right. Exactly. Like, he should have just said it was you should have just said to the media, it was an excused absence. We knew about this. Like, people were making it sound like it was when Derrick Rose just disappeared. Remember when Derrick Rose
that's a whole different issue.
Or Kyrie Irving just disappears. Like, people were making it sound like that, and that's not what happened at all.
Yeah, but for Aaron to come out and say that I based it on last year's schedule, does he realize that the NFL changes every year scheduling wise?
It does probably change slightly every year, but you have to remember a trip to Egypt probably is planned at least a year in advance.
I understand, but for him to go up and talk to the media and in an open availability and to say, oh, well, I based it on last year and that's why I wasn't here. Like, come on, Aaron, that doesn't fly.
But I think the point, I think that's part of what he's saying. But I think the other part of what he's saying is like, okay, I based it, I planned it based off of last year's schedule and the team knew about it. And I had their permission to go to Egypt.
Well, he didn't say that, though.
2 minicamp days.
Right, but he didn't say that. He just said, oh, I planned it based off last year's schedule.
Yeah, but it's also a pretty good guess that it's going to be OTAs based on, like it's not, like minicamp basically is OTAs.
Right, but he keeps saying, oh, I want to win a Super Bowl. Like, if you want to win a Super Bowl so bad, why are you not giving a shit about being with the team?
But it's only like 2 days. You think it's really going to make a difference if he's not with the team for 2 days?
It's the principle. It's the character of it. You're the quarterback. You're the leader.
If anybody else had done this, I don't think it would have been that big of a deal. I just think the media, much of the sports media, holds a grudge against Aaron Rodgers.
No, I think Aaron Rodgers gets special treatment above everybody else too.
You don't think the sports media holds a grudge?
No, they do. But I'm saying I think Aaron Rodgers does whatever he wants and doesn't care what people think.
Right. No. That part is also kind of true. That part is also kind of true because he's a star. I mean, it's not just true of Rodgers. I think.
I mean, the part in my take interview that you said that he did, like I listened to a few clips. And he's like, "Oh, well, we're going to win 2 Super Bowls, so I can go retire as a Jet." Like, can we not? Like,
yeah.
Why are you saying that?
The Jets are just such a dysfunctional organization that them winning a Super Bowl feels
far from possible.
I mean, it's certainly possible,
Not
but
this year.
Harder for dysfunctional organizations to win a Super Bowl. Not to mention the fact that we're in a really tough division the tougher conference.
It'll be weird for the first time saying that New England is going to be the worst team in the division, but
I like that part.
No, of course I like that part.
But overall, like, am I looking forward to this season?
No, I'm not.
Kind of.
I would say if they go 500, well, they can't go 500 because it's 17 games. If they go 9-8, I'd be ecstatic, to be honest. Like,
I think they'll do better than that. I'd take that bet.
You think they're going to win more games?
I do.
They would probably be a playoff team then if that was the case.
Yeah, I mean,
as long as Aaron is healthy, I think they'll make the playoffs. But
yeah, I think they're kind of expected to make the playoffs, I would say.
Once you get to the playoffs, it's kind of Pandora's box at that point. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The Aaron Rodgers front.
All right. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We'll be back next week. This was Moving the Goalposts.